How's the crack? Yeah, I know. It's been a while. Again. Anyway, ever since I covered this Jak and Daxter retrospective about 2 years ago, Jak 3 was the one I was most reluctant to review. And no, before you try and be a smart idiot and say, well, we can tell, Catus, you haven't uploaded in like 2 years. Well, yeah, you're right, but go away with you. Sure, look, I'm here now, so we might as well try and have some fun. Naughty Dog have a pretty interesting history when it comes down to the third entries of their franchises. Crash 3 Warped, while still a really fun game, you can tell Naughty Dog wanted to diversify the game with some variety, you know, with the scuba diving and the jet skiing and the like. I don't know if Naughty Dog were worried people would get bored if the third game was 95% platforming again, or if they even wanted to change this one themselves because they were getting bored of the formula. If I were to guess, I'd say it was a bit of column A and a bit of column B. But I do think Crash 3 achieves a really good balance of old and new. There's a reason why this is probably the most popular game in the series, especially when Crash's core gameplay loop has seen some really cool upgrades with the dashing, the gliding and the good old double jump. But what about their other third game? Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. Has it been long enough now that I can say naughty words? Fuck it, I'll just beep it. Cause fuck me lads, Uncharted 3 is a mess. Way too many segments where control of your character is just stripped away or restricted because the game doesn't want you to roll around and look silly while you're walking with your crew. The game's story is all over the place, from set pieces that were clearly put in before the game's story was fully written, and villains that make less and less sense the more you think about them. Seriously, what was up with this fucker? Why was I even chasing him here? The Subway ad where Nate jumps into this window makes more narrative sense than this. Okay, so yeah, I don't really like Uncharted 3. And clearly, Naughty Dog had another game in the oven that was their priority. Anyway, what was we talking about again?
Why, leave it. Oh, it's yourself.
So, where does Jak 3 fall? Is it an awesome sequel like Crash 3 was, with a satisfying conclusion that, while not innovating too much on the game's core mechanics, does give you a lot of nice variety? Or is it like Uncharted 3, where it just kind of fumbles all over the place?
It's today. Subway, where winners eat.
Jak 3 picks up a little over a year after Jak 2. Haven City has expanded and the corrupt rule of Baron Praxis' tyranny is finally a thing of the past. But uh-oh spaghettios, someone forgot to close the back door of the city, and Haven City becomes a mess once more. The palace falls and shit just gets flung on every single wall. It gets ridiculous. Naturally, Jak gets blamed for it. Why? Because of his association with Crew, our favourite degenerate. That's sound logic. Other than the fact that the last time Haven City got raided by metalheads, yeah, Jak was pretty much everyone's last hope. Who ordered this?
By order of the Grand Council of Haven City.
Who the fuck are you? Are you Talbot from Uncharted 3 as well? Anyway, we'll get to him later. For now, Jak, Daxter and Pecker get stranded in the desert and left to die. But thankfully, these fellas here saved the lads.
Looks like we found some live ones. Barely.
After getting rescued and a snazzy new haircut, we get introduced to this game's new locale, Spargus, a city for people who seek refuge when Haven wouldn't offer it. But in order for the lads to stay here, we gotta go through a death gauntlet arena. Because, you know, getting kicked out of Haven City wasn't a good enough reason. We gotta also prove that we're a tough prick. What is the first challenge? Pick up a bunch of shiny oaks. Yup, game tutorial. Exact same control scheme from the last 2 games, but with the innovative new mechanic of being able to climb a ladder. Yeah. Afterwards, we get our first gun. The scatter gun is back. And yeah, we got it within the first minute in this game. Nice. Once we complete this quick combat tutorial where we also get reacquainted with Dark Jak, as reward, we also get back the yellow eco-powered blaster.
Hey, what do I get? Nothing, as usual.
Pretty nifty, I'm not gonna lie. Already have half of Jak 2's arsenal in the first couple of minutes of play. The weapon upgrades are still here, but the way you obtain them has been completely overhauled. Unlike the previous game, where you got them from the main story missions, Jak 3 requires you to purchase them with the precursor orbs, which you can find scattered throughout the world. It doesn't even cost that many extra orbs to acquire the upgrades, and hell, the orbs are still mainly used to unlock extra content such as the commentaries, the model viewer and the level select. As we're leaving the arena, we get thrown into our very next mission, where we meet this nasty fella called Cleaver.
You talking to me?
Yeah, you talking to him?
No, I'm conversing with me sweet departed mom. Of course you borehead.
He gives us the task of hunting down these little rodents here called kangaroo rats, with this wee fella here called a leaper lizard. The leaper lizard is the main way you'll be transporting around Spargus. It can run fast, do a quick little hover and a ram charge. And yes, it is indeed the exact same moveset as the Fluff Flop from the Precursor Legacy, except now with the convenience of being able to dismount anywhere. Asset reuse is very common in video game sequels, contrary to what some people say in modern times. Anyway, once we finish catching these rats with the leaper lizard, we get even more acquainted with Spargus and its inhabitants. We meet these interesting individuals that call themselves Precursor Monks. They're investigating a dark infested Precursor artifact that dropped from this ominous light that's got everyone proper worried. The leader of these monks, Seam, isn't too keen on Jack's help, since he apparently smells of the dodgy fella, and who can blame them? Jack activates this satellite thingy with this dark power after you do this very simple input minigame. Seriously, even for this just being the third mission, this is a wee bit slow. And shit. Did people have that much PTSD from the Onin minigame in the last one? Afterward, we end up blowing that shit up, and the monks tell us to go get fucked and we're not welcome in their city. That's fine. Outside of the city walls, we get introduced to Jack Tree's arguably most well-known mechanic, the Dune buggies. Big man Cleaver, however, has a little bet for us to get acquainted with our fancy new wheels.
Care to wager a little something on a race then? If you win, I'll let you keep that little vehicle for as long as you live. And if I win,
I don't have anything.
I'd say that yappy rodent of yours is a bit bony, but skinned and buttered, he'd make a nice treat. My vehicle against him.
Forget it, buddy. Jack would never
Done. What? Don't worry.
Jack! You're such a c***. Anyway, despite how anxiety-provoking this race is, because Daxter's livelihood is apparently worth less than this piece of shit that can't even drive in a straight line, this race is pretty damn easy. Jack, though, what is the crack here? I know Daxter can be annoying, but come on, lad. He saved you from prison. Yeah, it took him 2 years, but Jesus, it can take 2 years to get a lot of important shit done. Right? Right? You've probably noticed I've said it a couple of times by now, but a lot of missions in this game are noticeably not as difficult as Jak 2's. Clearly, the criticism of Jak 2's difficulty spikes was heard loud and clear at Naughty Dog HQ, because the game allows you to increase your maximum health, and later on, you can even heal yourself on the spot. Now again, trying to make the game a bit more forgiving than Jak 2, that's fair enough. Jak 2 isn't even the most difficult game per se, it just had some very stingy checkpoint placement in specific missions. Fuck the sewer escort mission. And because of this, I think Jak 3 is by a landslide the easiest game of the entire trilogy. So yeah, you can even say it was a bit overcorrected. But I'm going to give Naughty Dog the benefit here because this game was churned out only a year after Jak 2. And while it does have the odd glitch here or there, it is far from game breaking.
Oh yeah.
Ha! We kicked your scaly tail! Back off, you filthy animal!
After you start earning a few new vehicles, such as the Dune Hopper, which lets you fly into the stratosphere, you have access to the Precursor Monk Temple, one of the best chapters of the game. You go through a wee bit of an obstacle course here that kinda reminded me of Mars Tomb, actually, and once you get to the top of the structure, you take this glider here to a volcano. The volcano's when shit gets hot. Figuratively, of course.
Well, now we can't go back the way we came. Let's go check it out.
Right behind you, partner! Far behind you.
Jak 3 has way less missions that are traditional platforming and shooting. This game has a lot, and I do mean quite a lot of missions with vehicular combat or something that isn't using Jak's core moveset. Is that a bad thing on its own? No, but again, similar to what I was saying about Crash 3, with Naughty Dog potentially getting worried people will get tired of the formula, I feel like the on-foot missions in this game were just a little too sparse for my liking. Yeah, Jak 1 and 2 did have the odd mission where you were not on foot, but with this game, the frequency of them got significantly dialed up. Which is a shame, because the volcano is easily one of the best levels of the entire trilogy, and shows the best way you could potentially break away from the core mechanics while still being primarily a platformer. As we do actually take control of Daxter here. Honestly, Daxter's gameplay segments are quite fun in this. He's got the same moveset he had during the Mars Tomb chapter in the previous game, which, while a very limited moveset, still feels very snappy and responsive. It is such a shame there wasn't too many playable Daxter segments, as it's only here and another story mission far, far later in the game. I think it was a nice way of changing up the platforming challenges, especially when it makes the two characters feel like they're working as a team.
You miss me?
This would have been a better way of changing up the gameplay formula over having a dozen turret and vehicle segments that really fucking outstayed their welcome by the end. After we make it through the volcano, we find an expedition of dead monks that got killed by whatever this weird yoke is, which gives Jak a new dark power, temporary invisibility. Don't get too excited, it's raw total shite. You only use it to get through this security system thing in the next area, or as an unlock cheat, which is kind of odd and yeah, it's pretty useless. Doesn't really make much sense for Dark Jak, who is as subtle as... yeah, that. Dark Jak, of course, returns, and retains most of his abilities from Jak 2. The screen clearers, Dark Bomb and Dark Blast, are acquired really early in the game this time around. You could even have them at the very beginning of the game, but don't quote me on that. The biggest upgrade from Dark Jak is the Eco Regen. You don't even need a full Dark Eco gauge to transform anymore, and not only that... my dog moved. And not only that, you max it out far more frequently since the requirement has now been cut by quite a fair amount. And if you activate Dark Jak before the gauge is full, you can still get a lot of mileage out of it. You can't do one of those screen clear abilities, but you can do the combo chain and wreck these lads like there's no tomorrow. But not all of the new abilities are built equal. This new energy beam attack you acquire later is useless because, well, you shoot it, but the Peacemaker exists. So, Dark Jak for the most part had some much needed improvements. Whether all of them were well implemented, well yeah, you could debate that. But that isn't the only transformation in this game. Once we get to the end of the Monk Temple, we get greeted by Precursor Oracle, and Jak gets Light Eco powers. Yep, we got a brand new transformation, appropriately called Light Jak. While Dark Jak is all about combat, Light Jak has defensive and traversal abilities. You can heal yourself, freeze time to complete crawl for honestly quite a while, this one's kinda busted, a shield that I never really got much usage out of, and flight, which is for the most part situational. I'm kinda mixed on Light Jak, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he adds too much to the overall gameplay, especially when all he is a button to help you win. While I like on paper that the Light Eco has finally given Jak an equal balance, you know, controlling the dark creature within him to give him more unity within himself, we never really got to see Jak struggle with this, so it does feel kind of unearned.
Dax, the Dark Eco. It feels far away. I feel better.
Good on you, Jak. Maybe the Dark Eco is what made him...
Done. What? Don't worry.
We later reunite with Ashlyn, who wants the boys to come back to Haven since they're making a proper mess of things over there. This mission is a lot like her intro mission in Jak 2, where all you do is shoot the shit out of some metalheads. This one is noticeably easier than Jak 2's, of course, because, it's not Jak 2. Jak decides, nah, fuck Haven City, lads, but as soon as Ashlyn leaves, he changes his mind, because the next objective is to go through the catacombs to get to Haven City. Would have been handier if he just took a lift then and there, but nah, we can find our own way, lads. Once we get through the catacombs, we end up right outside of the city at the old Eco Mine, which is a pretty class mission as it's a side of Haven City we never got to see before, with a few decent platforming challenges and a really simple puzzle where you just whack this little weasel into a wheel thing. When we get through the mine, we meet Viger. Oh yeah, Count Viger. We finally get to talk about him. So, Count Viger is the main antagonist of Jak 3, I think. He is the Count of Haven City, and even was during Baron Praxis' time, although we never met him. And yeah, there's like this council board in Haven City that he's the player one of, but you don't learn anything about them, and it seemed more than anything, this fucking Egypt here was just created to give Jak a reason to get exiled. But he ain't even a good excuse, since we never learn anything about Haven City's politics or her people, other than the fact that they really fucking suck because that happened. He has something going on with the monks too, where he's trying to open this pathway to the cat... You know what, sure, look, fuck it, I'm not going to waste my time talking about this fella anymore. I know I compared him to Talbot from Uncharted 3 earlier, and I done so because, well, he's shite. He's an antagonist with no screen presence, and comes and goes when he pleases, and is probably a magician as well.
He's gone. How in the world?
Behold, I now command the very power of the Ancient One.
Oh wow, so that's where he went that time. A mystery from 2011 solved. This is one of the better bosses of the game, as we find a buffed up version of the robot final boss from Jak 1. This is probably one of the best bosses of the trilogy. The Jak series I wouldn't say has the most compelling bosses in video games or anything, but this one got me brain working. We get a new gun mod after defeating it, the Arc Wielder, a new variant of the blue eco weapons, and yes, that's another thing that got stuffed in this very cramped game. So, we went from having 4 weapons, one for each eco type, red, yellow, blue and dark, to now having a total of 12 weapons, 3 per eco type, with them being either ridiculously overpowered or ridiculously useless. Yeah, it's strange. You got some good ones, like the red eco mods having a grenade launcher and an AoE attack, but then there's shite like the dark eco one, which just makes enemies float in the air. Actually, never mind. This one's pretty funny. We finally arrived back in Haven City, and Jesus, you thought this place needed a mop before? Well, now needs at least 2. We emerged out of the stadium district, and we very quickly reunite with some old friends.
This place looks as bad as my old bedroom back home.
Jak, over here.
Samos, Kira.
Ah, Samos. Still as green as the stuff between my toes.
See, Kira, I knew I could feel Jak's energy. My boy, it's good to see you again.
You probably noticed that Kira isn't talking in this scene, despite being a pretty chatty character. Why? Well, I don't think it was really explained why she decided not to speak a word in this particular cutscene, but Kira's voice actor did get recast. And I could be speaking out of my own arse here, but I do think there's a chance that when they recorded this cutscene, they didn't even have her new voice actor casted yet. Remember, this game only had 1 year to come out. She's now voiced by Tara Strong, who does a fine job, mind, but Kira's overall role in the story was significantly reduced. I wouldn't have minded the voice change, but her role in the story is essentially non-existent, which is really off. She's been portrayed as Jak's main love interest since the beginning, but in this game, it's Ashlyn, which yes, is weird. Kira might as well have not been in this game. It really wouldn't have changed anything, like at all. Her biggest contribution in the game's story is when Ashlyn gives Jak the jetboard in a cutscene Kira's not even in. I'm not joking, by the way. Which is a massive shame, since her, Daxter, Jak and Samos have been around since the beginning. And you want the whole gang here to wrap up this trilogy, but alas, that doesn't happen. This is something to try and go back and fix in Jak X, which, by the way, has a better story than this game. But we ain't talking about that game today. Sure, f*** me, it took me 2 years even to just get to this one. After we emerge from the sewers, we end up back on the southern side of the city, the port. We reunite with our underground BFF, Torn. Yay. He's trying to get through the city in order to rendezvous with Ashlyn and the others. And you know what that means? We break a lot of shit, including Daxter. How is Haven City now? What has changed from Jak 2? Well, not that much, other than the bazaar being completely inaccessible due to that nasty palace crashing down. As a matter of fact, about half of Haven City is now unavailable. Most of the districts that are here are completely unchanged from before. Some locations, however, have had a facelift. Well, wouldn't say facelift, it's more so shit super f***ed in Haven City. Those gardens are now a completely infested metalhead site. Also, the North Docks where everyone's favourite mission happened is now a whole new city district, and it looks pretty nice. And you can't ever really explore it, since this city is always at war now. Lovely. It becomes clear that Jak and Daxter's homeworld is in danger with that big out purple light up there giving everyone a good worry. And justifiably so, as it started spawning these nasty monsters known as Dark Makers. What are Dark Makers? Well, they're the true main antagonist of Jak 3, I think. They're dark eco-corrupted alien precursors. Whoa, very scary. Yeah, if you can't tell with how enthusiastic I am, I think Dark Makers are pretty shite. They're just meaner, purpler metalheads. Wasted opportunity, lad. Go away with ya. Even while bringing order with chaos in Haven City, Jak is still needed in his duties as a wastelander in Spargus. Damus begins trusting Jak a lot more in these later missions, realising Jak's innate combat ability and his bravery. Damus is quite a cool character, and I really wish he was in the story more than he was. He has such a cool voice too, it's raspy as shit. Actually, that's something I've neglected to mention in any of my videos thus far, and that's unwarranted given my own background as an actor. But the performances in this game are stellar.
And one more thing. If you get caught in the storms, they will tear the flesh from your very bones.
Ooh, great. Thanks for the pep talk.
Naughty Dog, especially today, are very well known for their excellent performances from many of their more mainstream games, with the Jak games being no exception. Daxter's performance being a personal favourite of mine. Another one, but not from this game, but from Jak 2, was Errol, your smug rival who really went in Jak's face and was trying to steal his
I live!
Oh. Lovely. He's another villain this fucking game. Errol is back, having survived crashing into a bunch of dark eco barrels, and he is the main antagonist of Jak 3, I think. And as you can see, he got a new makeover where he's a big old robot made of pure metal. And yeah, he looks a proper mess, like, Jesus fucking Christ, lad. Could you not put on, like, a hat or something? I know someone who's very good at, wearing them, if you need help. Yeah, so this redesign is shit. Also nonsensical as hell. He drove into piles of dark eco and he turned into Robocop. And not even a cool Robocop. He turned into a shite one that looks like if you could trip him over, he'd probably struggle with getting back up on his feet. This sucks, because Errol had so much potential. He's still my favourite antagonist of the trilogy, despite this. He's just that good in Jak 2 that it balances out his shiteness in 3. This game doesn't have a compelling villain at all, an issue Uncharted 3 also suffered from. Errol 100% deserves to be Jak's end boss to wrap up this trilogy, but not like this lad. Not with him looking like a bottle of toothpaste that's been squeezed out and fucking thrown into the bin, but yeah, that's fine. After many trials and tribulations, we finally get to give Errol a big proper smack, but oh dear. He managed to get a quick chat with them Darkmaker lads, and now he's on their side. And now we gotta find a way to knock that big purple yoke out of the sky, so we can give him the most proper smack possible. Naturally. We make our way through the stadium ruins to get to the entrance to the catacombs. The catacombs apparently hold the last living precursors left in existence. And yeah, actual precursors who are still alive, and they're apparently packing a Darkmaker destroying weapon in their pockets. That'd be rather convenient.
Hey, Dax?
Fish in a barrel, baby. Fish in a barrel.
Stadium Ruins is one of the best missions too, ending on the strongest platforming mission since the Weapons Factory, or the Volcano. Feckin' hell. They really didn't have many missions that primarily relied on Jak's really diverse moveset, did they? You use all of Jak's eco abilities to traverse the environment, while also going through the debris of the racetrack from the prior game. Demas ends up saving us with his big old fucking buggy. Hey, you end up getting to spend more time with them here, wrecking more metalheads with our Wheels of Chaos. Wastelander style. And yeah, it's looking all well and good until something happens.
Damos!
Not bad driving, kid. It was a good fight. And a good day to die. I'm very proud to have been by your side in the end. This world is not yet out of heroes.
We did well together. Don't move, Al.
Please, promise me one thing. Promise me you'll find my son, Mar. You'll know him when you see this. He's wearing an amulet just like it. A symbol of our lineage with the great House of Mar. Save the people, Jak. They need you.
Father.
This scene is incredibly powerful. Demas having no idea Jak was his son because he's far older than the kid is just awful. That's all there is to say, really. Viger tells us he's the reason why Jak's family ended up in disarray before fucking off to try and get to the precursors. Jak's anger and rage isn't something we're new to seeing, but I'd hate to be Viger right now, or in general, because he fucking sucks. We make chase in one of the few parts of the game that actually took me a few attempts to get through, as we make it to the precursor core. But oh shit, so is Viger. But oh shit, so are these.
you had been a true hero, you would have stopped Errol by now.
Oh my god.
Yep, they're Otzels. And they're the true main antagonist of Jak Tree. I'm joking. So, the precursors turned out to be Otzels, which in hindsight is, cool, I think? I absolutely loved this shot with the three of them just being in sheer disbelief, with Jak's "oh my god" just being the cherry on top. It's rare for Daxter to be completely speechless, especially. And justifiably so. The precursors have been built up since the very beginning. Their ancient structures, their innovative technologies, and they turn out to be this. These horrible little rodent things. They decide that Vigor isn't worth shite and kick him out of the game's story. Good. Before transporting us to the Dark Maker ship to try and defeat Errol once and for all. We battle through the Makers, and while we manage to bring the ship down, Errol makes an escape as he gets into a mech and crashes down into the desert. Yup. Final boss time.
All die in my hand.
This guy just won't quit!
It's headed for the city. We gotta defend it. For Deimos.
The last charge of the Dark and Light Brigade! Let's do it, partner!
To the end.
This boss takes you throughout the entire desert as you shred them wheels one more time, tearing down them nasty legs. And when Errol does get grounded, we have one last showdown with them, where we use the myriad of Jak's abilities he's accumulated throughout the trilogy. While this fight may not have much going on mechanically, it's decent like. One thing I did find a bit silly though, was placing eco vents around here. Oh yeah, eco vents from the first game are back, but they make no sense being back now because eco is a resource, not a power-up, so you can just fucking heal yourself. Anyway, yeah, this boss is pretty cool despite the lack of actual tension. It's also the only multi-phase boss of the bunch. Sometimes the driving part though can be a tiny bit frustrating due to the terrain being as lumpy as my arse. Anyway, yeah, once you blast this ugly prick into oblivion, bet he survived this bullshit too somehow, we're heralded as heroes once again. Nice. The precursors thank the boys for all the world saving that they're well used to by now. Jak says that they can call him by his birth name, Mar, named after his ancestor.
Wait, Jak is Mar? The Mar?
Wait, what the fuck? Yeah, I know, it's confusing. And frankly, I don't think Jak is Mar. I just think Ashlyn hasn't been able to follow the plot too well. And again, who can blame her? As Jak departs, he gives a nice farewell to Daxter and co. before blasting off on new adventure. I'm just fucking with you. He stayed. Man, if he actually did end up being Mar, doesn't this just create a paradox or something? I don't know. Doesn't seem anyone really cares either, so it's all good, I guess. Yay.
Ah! Psych! Oh yeah, life is good.
Jak Tree is a really frustrating game. For every single good idea it has, it gets marred down for not being able to go all out because the game was clearly rushed. Multiple weapons could have worked, just like how multiple abilities really changed the way Crash Tree's satisfying platforming challenge got amped up. And yeah, you don't need any of Crash's new abilities and can beat the game fine without them, but people sure love them time trials and that gratifying challenge you can get from really pushing Crash's abilities as far as he's able. And just like that game, Jak Tree's sandbox is essentially the same as Jak 2's, to the point that if you used the original 4 Morph Gun mods instead of all your fancy new ones, you'd probably have a more consistent experience in terms of difficulty. And that's the problem. Crash Tree gave the players challenge in order to make the most out of their repertoire of new moves. Jak's new guns just make things go boom faster, or fucking float. And I guess the final question is the game as much of a mess as Uncharted 3? Well, yes, it kind of is. Ouch. It's even a bigger mess at times. But guess what? It's a beautiful mess. It's a fun mess. It's a chaotic mess. Uncharted 3 was like a messy dinner with not everything fully cooked. It was like getting served by the first person who gets eliminated on Hell's Kitchen. Jak 3 is just a messy ice cream selection that if you eat too much of it, it'll fuck your brain and freeze you. But ice cream is pretty nice. So yeah, that's my rating. A very cold ice cream out of 10, I guess. There we have it. Took nearly 3 years, but I finished the Jak trilogy retrospective. It's been quite the journey. If you've watched all 3 of these videos, thank you. And I do mean that. Especially if you were able to get through the first game video. Man, that first one of mine was really rough. Anyway, yeah. Don't expect a review of Jak X because you'll die of old age if you do. Be good, stay safe, and thanks for watching. Oh yeah, and subscribe, why won't you? Did anyone else notice that both of these games have segments where the protagonist gets stuck in a desert and almost dies from dehydration? How the fuck did I not notice that until now?